Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Honor the Land. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and we are fresh off of a Tuesday training camp practice. We are sweating in our seats already. It was brutal out there. Zay, what did you think of the second practice I went to this week? First practice you went to this week. What did you think of the practice?
Well, before I went into the practice, I got in the car and I'm like, did I pee myself? I was sweating so bad. I'm like, this is not a good look. But I mean, practice, that was probably I'm very disappointed that the practice was as short as it was, because that was the best view of a practice that I've ever been a part of. Shout out to the Browns.
Shout out to the Browns
for the access. Like, I mean,
yeah.
we got to see everything. It was pretty incredible. It had some chicken tenders and stuff to go along with it. But it's just, it felt good to be back and know that literally football is right around the corner.
Yeah, and you can see it in the demeanor of everybody around town, obviously the demeanor of everybody at the facility, but more people are talking about it, more people are tuning into what we're posting, things like that. Football is truly right around the corner, and I mean, there is a football game this week, and the Browns play their preseason game in about a week. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Are you going down there at all?
I don't know. You're going down there, aren't
I'll
you?
definitely going to be down there for the game. I'm debating on going down during the day Thursday because Pat McAfee's there Thursday.
Ooh, we may have to try to plan something for that.
Yeah.
Then. You got tickets already?
No, Pat McAfee sounds like you can walk up and watch
for the
on
game.
the outside. Yes, I got a ticket for the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yes.
I may make an appearance. It's like an hour away, so we'll
exactly. Hour on the dot. But yeah, football's back, which is good in the sense that we missed it and we've been longing for it for months and months and months, but it's bad in the sense that we get some unfortunate news. And both Zay and I saw it today. Martin Emerson Jr. carted off after we couldn't really tell if it was contact or non-contact, but something after the play, down on the ground, carted off, very emotional coming off the field. It sounds like it is an Achilles injury, at least according to multiple reports that we've seen across the internet. Obviously, that is never good, and it's never good when you're carted off on the back of a cart. I don't know. Did you see the injury? I didn't see it. It just looked bad. Everybody immediately huddled around, carted off, very visibly emotional.
I didn't see it happen, but I saw literally the second he was on the ground, and everyone. Once you see the players start to go and take their helmets off and start to get on that knee, that's when you know it's bad. It's even worse when you see that person getting carted off and you can see him crying under his towel. So it looked almost like week 7 Browns Bengals when Deshaun Watson got carted off the field.
Yep.
Pretty much the same type of emotion. I think the big thing that comes with this, and my question that I have is just like, man, this is a contract year for Martin Emerson. What does this mean? We've sat here and talked about week in and week out about Greg Newsome and how that contract will play out because you got to make money for Martin Emerson. Well, now that he's injured, and if it is an Achilles tear, he's out for the rest of the year, going into free agency. How do you maneuver that? Because Martin Emerson isn't a guy that I just want to let walk, even if this injury is something that is an Achilles. I want to see if we get 2023 Martin Emerson back.
Absolutely, and it's a weird spot, not just for the Browns, really any team who would be in this situation where it's a business in the sense that you have to make the financial decision that's best for your team, but these are still human beings within the business. And I think that's kind of gotten lost in translation in the NFL over the past couple of years. We've seen a lot of stuff with Treylon Burks, all of these players who are really dealing with serious injuries. And, you know, on the surface, it's a business decision and it benefits the team as a whole the best, especially in the financial world, to move on or to not pay somebody X amount of dollars. But the reality is, like, they're still human beings. So it's going to be a really weird spot for, again, any team, but for the Browns right now. And on the flip side of that is Greg Newsome. Not necessarily financially. That will have financial implications, I'm sure. But now Greg Newsome, assuming it's a serious injury for Martin Emerson, will truly get a chance to be the
guy they drafted.
Exactly, a number one, but really a number two on the other side of Denzel Ward, but a true outside corner. And we saw it when Emerson went down. No outside corner comes in. It is Greg Newsome. You go to the outside. Cam Mitchell, who had a pick today, comes to the inside and plays in the slot. It's very, very interesting to see the confidence they have in Greg Newsome. And from what we've seen, especially in 2023, for most of those games, you feel comfortable with him one-on-one. The bigger bodied guys give him trouble, though, and that's the reality.
I couldn't be more excited for Greg Newsome, especially talking to Greg Newsome this offseason, asking him about the switch from outside to inside, about how difficult it's been for him and what's that like. He wants to be outside. He talks about the guys that he came into the class with. J.C. Horn was one of them, and seeing how they're flourishing in their role. And we talked about this. I believe it was the first or second episode of our Sear podcast, where he was tied with Denzel Ward his rookie year for pass deflections. So he's back into his natural position. And obviously, like you said, the bigger guys give him a little bit of trouble, but this is where he likes to be at. So if anybody can make a bit, like, earn some more money, get another contract, and show these people what they want, because the reason why he moved into the slot, he told us, Jim Schwartz and those boys thought that it was best if all three of them were on the field. So now Cam Mitchell's going to fill into that slot role. Greg Newsome can have himself a pretty big year this year, seeing as though he'll get a lot of snaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really interesting, you just brought up, it was just best in the Browns' defense, Schwartz's eyes, everybody's eyes, to just have all three of them on the field, because that was the best. It wasn't really a base personnel, it's a sub package, but the best personnel you could have out there in your most important downs. Now I wonder, is that 4-2-5 look where you have a true nickel the best? I don't know, because, again, you have two guys on the outside now, assuming Martin Emerson is out, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, who you really like. It's going to come down to trusting Cam Mitchell, and again, these are in some downs, these second down scenarios where you can bounce around from your personnel. You're not pigeonholed into a 4-3 or your nickel package on a third down. Do you trust Cam Mitchell on the inside at nickel on second down, or is it a true Sam linebacker, somebody like Devin Bush, maybe somebody like Mahamoud Diabate, not Taran Shank? I think he's going to be along the defensive line a little bit more. But another guy, he did look good. He looked good, really good yesterday. But another guy who I talked about a little bit yesterday on socials, he was out there running with the ones today without Grant Delpit out there. Christopher Edmonds, number 41, a bigger bodied safety. Literally, he stands next to Grant Delpit. They are built almost exactly the same. That's a guy who's a bigger hybrid. Kind of reminds me of Isaiah Simmons, if you remember him, Cardinals and the Giants.
He's still a free agent, too.
He still is a free agent. Hey, maybe that's the direction they go. And you know what? He was not bad.
Right, the offer.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It does.
You said you drive him in from the airport, right?
Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons.
Justin
right.
Simmons.
Oh, dang.
Look, I'll do it for, honestly, I really like Isaiah Simmons. I'll do it for Isaiah Simmons, too. But Justin Simmons, still out there. Offer still stands. But regardless, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what base personnel they trust the most. I don't know what they do.
I think one thing that coming from training camp today, and obviously they weren't in full pads. Obviously, it's just practice, but this defensive line was showing me a lot of flashes of 2023. I'm out there and I'm like, this is a sack. This is a sack. There's no time to throw. Like, that's going to be a huge factor into the secondary role, because the one play where Joe Flacco at training camp today had the play action rollout, you could argue that it was a sack, but the guy who kind of had the, I don't know if you want to call it busted coverage, or the guy that should have been there, was Ronnie Hickman. We had a lot of expectation for Ronnie Hickman this year. The secondary could be in a lot of trouble if the Martin Emerson thing lingers, and the safety, the question marks that you have there. I think the one key that we need to be paying attention to is how much pressure is this defensive line getting, because it'll make their guys' job so much easier, like we saw today.
100%. And you listen to a lot of the DBs talk about that 2023 season, and that was the consistent theme. Obviously, they love the guys they have. They trust themselves in coverage. But when you only got to cover for 2.5 compared to 3.5, it's a very, very different world. We just got through the whole first segment without talking about quarterback. How crazy is that?
No Shador, not one time except there.
Trust us, we have plenty more to talk about the quarterbacks. We'll kick it off with quarterbacks up next on Never Sunny in Berea on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Say, and this is Never Sunny in Berea, the segment where we attribute weather reports to 3 groups of people within the Cleveland Browns building. We made it through the first segment without talking about quarterbacks at all, so we're going to start with quarterbacks here. There's a lot going on. Obviously, today, Tuesday, you guys are seeing the viral clip of Dylan Gabriel's pick. Yesterday, you saw the clip of Shedeur Sanders' touchdown. Zay, in terms of the quarterback room in general, we'll talk quarterbacks in the next segment, each of them specifically. What weather report are you giving these 3 guys, really, because Kenny Pickett hasn't been practicing, probably won't for a week or so? What weather report are you giving this quarterback room right now?
Well, let me pull up my phone here, go to the weather app, and it is currently 85 in Cleveland, which I'm going to say that's a lie.
It's hotter
probably
than that.
95. It's exactly what today and yesterday was. It's so hot in the QB room right now for so many different reasons. Obviously, the Kenny Pickett stuff with the injury, Shedeur, with the comments from his dad not wanting him to be at camp, him just exceeding expectations so far up to this point, to Dylan Gabriel's interception, which you having living, like, breathing nightmares right now while you're awake, and then obviously just Joe Flacco being far above everyone else, and I think a lot of people don't like to hear that because they don't want old man Joe to get a shot at it.
Yeah.
So it's hot as hell right now.
I like that. I think it's hot, but there's a storm coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know when it's coming. There was a report that dropped yesterday that the Browns also may be interested or are, quote, planning on. I don't remember the exact quote, but it seems like a trade of one of the four, not one of the two vets, one of the four quarterbacks is on the table. Now, I don't know how real it is. Last offseason, we were kind of convinced that was going to happen with Huntley and DTR. The value just straight up wasn't there. So does that happen? I don't know, but it's really weird seeing what I've seen the past 2 days in person. Like, Shedeur Sanders is running with the 2s and the 3s, and he's playing well. He's getting the clips. He's getting the highlights. He's getting the stat cast across social media where he's perfect. Like, I see it. He's playing better than Dylan Gabriel. I'm just wondering when it gets to a point, because today I thought was bad for Dylan Gabriel.
No, worst. It had to be the worst practice so far.
Yeah, and yesterday I didn't think was that bad. I think Shedeur was better. I didn't think yesterday was that bad. Today it was bad. And I know a lot of people will point to the clips on social media saying, oh, it's just one bad pass, one pick. First of all, a bad pass in the red zone, turning the ball over, is as bad as it gets.
On a broken play.
That's really bad. But there were a couple others. There are a couple other throws. Not every play will get posted on social media where rolling to the left overthrows an open receiver. Some of the checkdowns aren't on target, aren't on time. Like, things like that. It wasn't clean. It wasn't clean. The offense has not operated the past 2 days as well as it has definitely with Joe Flacco. Mm-hmm. But even with Shedeur Sanders, and again, it's Shedeur Sanders with the 2s and the 3s, Dylan Gabriel with some of the 1s and the 2s. So it's interesting to see that he's still getting those reps. They're very clearly leaning into him a little bit more, whether right or wrong, they're doing it. And I'm wondering when something changes. I'm wondering when that storm comes, because I think when the storm comes, I don't know if everyone's ready for the impact or the fallout that Shedeur Sanders playing well with the 2s could have on Flacco with the starters. People saying, well, just start Shedeur week 1. I think it could get to that point. I'm worried about that.
I don't think there's as much, like, I commented this on Twitter the other day where I was like, you know, as much as I want Shedeur to play right now, I think it'd be best if we can just let him sit. I don't even know if there's a world where he can theoretically win this job within the first few weeks, just off the strength of what we know. And what do we know? They love them some Dylan Gabriel. They show it, they speak it, they drafted him in an area where they show that they love him. And I was just talking to you about this off the air and on Twitter yesterday again, where I just say, you know, I mentioned, are they scared to let Shedeur flourish? Are they scared to let him do what we all want him to do? Because what does that say about your evaluation on a guy that you took when you probably could have gotten him 2 or 3 rounds later? What does that say that you're so confident that he's your guy, yet he gets beat out by a 5th rounder? That can't go over well. So, like, as much as we're trying to force the situation, and it's like, well, maybe these reps with the 2s will put him above Dylan Gabriel, I just think it's a matter of we have to see Dylan fail before we even get to Shedeur. And is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. I think it should always be best man out there. But unfortunately, the situation that we're seeing right now, I don't know. Shedeur can go 20 for 20 the next 3 days. Yeah. And I still think we probably have to go down the totem pole of Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur.
Yeah, I do think we have to go down the totem pole. I also do think the preseason reps are going to matter a lot more. We've talked about that a couple times.
His dad talked about it a lot.
Yep. Preseason matters a lot more. But what's really interesting to see is the fallout now with Jimmy Haslam starting to speak a little bit more. He said today, I don't remember the exact quote. I'm sure you can pull it up, but it was Andrew Berry's pick. It wasn't my pick as it related to Shedeur Sanders. Now, we've come on here and talked a couple times. It certainly seemed like a, quote, Haslam pick, but him saying that, whether, you know, he's telling the full truth or not, shows us that's not the case. It was an Andrew Berry pick, and the talent was there and undeniable. What about Jimmy Haslam in this whole equation? Because we've talked a bunch about the quarterback situation, what Stefanski wants, what Andrew Berry wants. What does Jimmy Haslam want? He probably wants the engagement, the money. He's an owner, first and foremost, and it's a business. What other report are you giving for the Browns owner right now amidst all of this stuff?
I think Jimmy Haslam's living in Hawaiiville right now. Like I think it's like pina colada sipping on the beach, just like
$47 pina colada
right,
in
probably
Browns
4,000,
land. Yeah, yeah.
$4,000 pina colada.
Yeah.
One thing about Jimmy Haslam, every year it seems like we're always like, well, what is this guy responsible for? I remember last year I was a big guy where I was like, well, what power does Andrew Berry have? What power does Kevin Stefanski have? Well, he came out in the press conference today and said, Andrew Berry's in charge of the drafting. Kevin Stefanski's in charge of the players and how they play this and that. And he's going down the power structure. And it's just like, is Jimmy growing before our eyes and we are just blinded by hate? I'm not a Jimmy Haslam hater. I'm talking about for the general consensus of what people think of Jimmy Haslam, of how they think he's this terrible owner who can't get anything right. But it's like, I think we're witnessing Jimmy Haslam grow as an owner right before our very eyes. And I'm actually kind of excited because if he is going to do this, like you said, he's putting a stamp on it. Andrew Berry, this was his guy. I'm up here doing this. Kevin Stefanski wanted this. Like, if it is going to go like that, I think we may have a decent owner just because the big thing you want your guy to do is to fork out that money. And that's what he does. As long as he's not getting involved and putting his hand in the cookie jar, what else is there bad to say about him? So I'm excited for Jimmy Haslam. I think it's Hawaii on the coast weather for him right now, and he on that horizon. It's not the sun setting, it's not the moon coming up. It's Brook Park in that airport.
I agree, and I think in his mind, it's sunny with Brook Park. Like that is the thing at the forefront.
Yep.
It's like that weird weather where you have a really nice view of the skyline, and the weather's not great, but you have a really nice view of the skyline. It's not raining by you, but like 10 miles in the distance, you can see the rain cloud. You can see that is what it's like for the public. The rain, all of this, like it's not my pick. Us sitting here sometimes looking at this saying, what is going on here? There's a disconnect. But in reality, with Jimmy Haslam, you're right. He's taking a step back. He's I shouldn't say becoming. He is acting more as the businessman than the football guy, which objectively I think as an owner is usually a good thing. You want to lean into your roster and financially commit to your GM and his process. Love it. Go ahead, be my guest. I just think to the public eye, because of the pick stuff, because the stadium is being moved, which a lot of people aren't happy about. It's raining, but in the reality, in his world right now, there is no rain. We do have to move on, but very quickly, want to talk about the DB room very, very quickly. We'll talk a little bit more about the depth, who's stepping in, who's not. The Martin Emerson injury. It's obviously very serious. We wait to see the MRI news on Wednesday, but weather report for that DB room right now, right after the injury. How are you feeling just about not financials, about the players they're going to put on the field on third down?
You know what I feel like right now? I'm about to tap into some childhood memories. This is the morning that Coach Boone comes out. Wake up, gentlemen, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. And then they go on that run to Gettysburg, and everyone's tired, and they got all this dirt, and then he comes out with his heroic speech like, this is Gettysburg. Men died on this field, da-da-da. It's like, this is the time now where Greg Newsome, Cameron Mitchell, and the rest of these guys that in the secondary have an opportunity to leave it out all on the field. Not only leave it out on the field, but go out there and get yourself a massive paycheck. It's that foggy, weary feeling where it just felt like you may have been defeated, but you know that you got guys that can step up, and I'm ready to see this blood, sweat, and tears from the secondary, because one thing that I know about the way that they evaluate the secondary position, if there's anyone that we can count on to at least go out there and replace, it's going to be hard to replace Martin Emerson. I'm not saying that he's replaceable, but they can find gems and they can find players that can have significant impact. So I'm super excited. I'm ready to run that Gettysburg line.
I don't know if I'm excited.
I mean, I'm not excited, but it's that I'm going to show you.
I think it's the first day of winter. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this is... Obviously, like, I've had my personal gripes with Martin Emerson. Like, last year was really bad.
Oh,
and
it was terrible.
I think there were a lot of factors. It wasn't solely Martin Emerson, but I just can't get the play against the Commanders out of my head. I think it was Diami Brown. Jaden Daniels looked at Martin Emerson one-on-one and said, I'm throwing it to my receiver against you. Go ball, he's going to beat you, and did. Like,
they were picking on Emerson last year.
They were. And like I said, I've had my personal gripes with his play on the field last year. 2023 was unbelievable, and it was clear to see. We all went to bat for him then, too. I just don't know if we're ready for what happens when everybody else has to step up. I also think this would be a different world if JOK was here, if Jordan Hicks was here, and you felt more comfortable in your base personnel. I like Cam Mitchell a lot. He's going to have to step up big time.
Big time.
In that dime world, if you're going to keep
Luckily,
Cam
he's
Mitchell
had a lot
in there.
of reps, though.
Yes.
I mean, he's made big plays for us in the past.
And he got the pick today. But in the dime world, again, I've talked a bunch about Christopher Edmonds. That is a second-year guy who hasn't proven anything yet. There's a lot of question marks, and I think it's hard not to feel the cold weather and feel the negative things that could come when you lose your number 2 corner. As good as Greg Newsome is, the depth, there's just question marks. There's question marks, and there already were question marks in the safety room.
That's what I was going to say.
If there's a safety who goes down, oh my gosh. Justin Simmons, like I said, the offer's still there.
The safety room is what we're standing there watching, and I'm just like, man, this is the safety room scaring me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you see the Ronnie Hickman pass where the Joe Flacco found Deontay Johnson. It's just like, where's our safety at?
Yep.
Like, what's going on? So if there's one position, like, I'm more weary about the first day of winter. Like, if I had to give a weather report to the secondary, the safety room would be the first day of winter for me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we are going to talk more about DBs, but the prize possession, the quarterbacks, is up next on to Land on Big Play Sports Network. Honor the Land is proudly sponsored by Infiniti. Safety never looked this good. Test drive the Infiniti QX80, the 2024 IIHS top safety pick. Safety never looked this good. With the suite of standard intelligent safety features, the QX80 and IIHS top safety pick is as safe as it is luxurious. The all-new Infiniti QX80. You put your family first, and so do we. With a suite of standard safety features, the 2025 QX60 and IIHS top safety pick plus is as safe as it is luxurious. Safe enough for your little ones. Meet your new security blanket, the 2025 QX60 and IIHS top safety pick plus. Zay, we talked a bunch about the quarterbacks. We got to talk about them a little bit more. Let's focus on the guys that have been in the NFL for more than a year. Obviously, Joe Flacco has looked really, really comfortable, been targeting Cedric Tillman a bunch, but now there's a lot of questions raised with Kenny Pickett, who hasn't practiced the past couple days. We'll be shocked if we see him the next week or so, but entering the preseason, do we see him? There's a lot of questions there. In a perfect world, what does the veteran aspect of the quarterback room look like?
In a perfect world, you're trading Kenny Pickett.
That's what you said when we were out there with the 3 guys. I think the first team period where it was Flacco and the 2 rookies, and you said this is what the quarterback room either
should look like.
Should look like. Okay, yeah.
It should look like Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Now, again, you have to tie into the fact that, like, this is where I go back. I'm emphasizing it so much because I think it's so important, and it's not really being talked about. The way that you evaluate these players. You went out and traded for Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
You went out and overly drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round. But yet, you bring in a guy in Joe Flacco who is obvious. Like, I think it's pretty obvious how much he's loved by these players, especially your key David Njoku, Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy. Like, they love this guy. And then you have the Kenny Pickett aspect where Kevin Stefanski loves... that I just feel like there's so much of a divide just because how can you there's too many cooks in the what do they say, there's too many cooks in the kitchen right now, so I think the perfect world we'd get some value for Kenny Pickett. We'd let Joe Flacco get a legitimate shot at this thing to see if he could spark some magic, win some games. And then when that thing goes down, you got to read into, we talked about Jimmy Haslam last segment. Mm-hmm. He said that he expects to see both quarterbacks out there this year. So how do you do that if you have 2 veterans?
Yeah.
And one guy that you really love, and then another guy that is loved by the Kevin Stefanski, and then the guy that's loved by the entire world in Shedeur Sanders? Like, how do you maneuver that?
It's tough. It's so tough. And first of all, there's no way the Browns didn't know this was coming, getting themselves into this. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I don't think the Browns foresaw Shedeur Sanders sliding the 5th. I don't think they saw that coming.
Jimmy Haslam said that, too, in the press conference.
Exactly.
He said if you would have told me the day before that we were drafting Shedeur, I would have called you crazy. He said, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, so they didn't see that coming. But I find it hard to believe after they turned that card in that they didn't know this was coming with the quarterback room, because you brought up a really good point about Kenny Pickett. They traded for him.
He was the guy they wanted.
I can't see a world, unless something bad happens, the injury's more serious, or unless he just straight up is not good in the preseason, where they trade for a backup quarterback and then cut him or trade him away. Like, that to me is really hard to believe. I agree with you. If Flacco's that good and one of these rookies, which is much easier said than done, makes you feel confident enough to have them as your backup, yes, that is the perfect quarterback room with Flacco and the two rookies. I just don't know, or honestly don't think that's a reality.
I just want to, like, it'd be different if we're sitting here talking about, okay, it's Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, DTR, and just Sean Kaiser.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
it'd be different if these were the
Just
style
Sean
of
Kaiser,
quarterbacks,
yeah.
right? I mean, I think it just it throws such a wrench into everything because we haven't talked about the big key in all of this and why the quarterback room is kind of like it is. I think Myles Garrett's signing has a lot to do with why this is so weird because would it be as weird if Joe Flacco was not in the equation? You know Kenny Pickett's your veteran starter. You know he's getting the first shot at this. And then from that point on, it's, okay, if Dylan wins the job, he wins it. If Shador wins it, he wins it. But you throw Joe Flacco into this mix after Myles Garrett was supposedly walking out, then he comes back and all of a sudden the plan is completely different. I'm just confused on why you would even put yourself in this situation to begin with. This can't be fun.
Exactly. And like I just said, there's no way they would have put themselves in this situation if they knew this was coming, but it's also really hard to believe that they didn't know it was coming. They didn't see Shador Sanders fall into the fifth, but drafting him, they had to have seen a quarterback room with, like you said, Dylan Gabriel, a guy who a lot of people thought they could have gotten later, but was very clearly their guy, which, so be it. If that's your guy, go get him. Kenny Pickett, who you traded for out of the blue, made little to no sense.
Yep.
Joe Flacco, who, if we're calling a spade here, had a pretty ugly departure from Cleveland after that playoff game.
Not
in
even
Houston.
offered a contract.
Exactly. Had a pretty ugly departure, went to Indianapolis, came back, and then now Shador Sanders. Like, how do you look at those four guys, and not expect this to be a circus? I don't understand. They have to expect it to be a circus, which honestly, truthfully, and Andrew Berry said it, I want to say over the weekend, makes me think there's a reality they keep all four.
We need a 30 for 30 on this, on just this breakdown, the offseason from Super Bowl row to, I have an idea who our quarterback's going to be. Like that, when that comment came out, that told me that the plan was different than originally expected.
Who do you think Myles Garrett thought the quarterback was?
It had to be Flacco because, and here's why I think that it had to be Flacco. Because they already, I don't remember if it was Andrew Berry when he said it in a press conference. It had to have been Andrew Berry. Someone said that if you would have asked me that we were going to sign Joe Flacco, I would have told you no. And then what changed? I don't know. Maybe signing Myles Garrett back changed, and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So it's just, that's the part that really throws me for a loop because Kenny Pickett was the first domino to fall.
Yes. And Kenny Pickett, overlooked in this whole thing, was the first choice of the offseason.
Yep.
It was the first choice, the quarterback position of the offseason. Again, in a trade that didn't make a lot of sense. Obviously, DTR was not very good last year.
And by the way, side note, there was a guy on the radio talking about DTR, and apparently he looks like, quote unquote, a backup, a quality backup in the league.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're surrounded by one of the best offensive lines in the league, throwing regardless. But yes, not surrounded by what the Browns had on their roster last year. That was the Browns' first choice of the offseason. Kenny Pickett, Kevin Stefanski probably talked to Andrew Berry, said, this is my guy. You brought up a really good point like 2 months ago, saying we don't know what Stefanski, Andrew Berry, that whole front office team thought of Kenny Pickett in the draft for a year. Like, we have no idea. Well, maybe they thought...
Was he a first-round grade?
Exactly. I want to finish by going back to your 30 for 30 comment. The Browns are going to get a 30 for 30, but it's going to be about Deshaun Watson. It's not going to be about the quarterback room in 2025. That's going to be a feature. That's going to be 20% of the 30 for 30 for sure. But it's going to be about Deshaun Watson.
No, just group it all in. If the 30 for 30 happens, start at 2020 and then move forward. You can't tell... I would be very pissed if that was the angle that they go because you can't tell the Deshaun Watson story without telling the Baker Mayfield story first.
That's a good point.
They have to include the 2020 and how that thing broke down before you can even get to Deshaun Watson because this could be a discussion for another day. Despite what we know and the result that is, you go back and make that trade 10 times out of 10 every time, no question about it.
You know what would make the 30 for 30 even crazier? I don't want to put I don't know. Actually, no, I wouldn't even care that much if this happened. I was going to say, I don't want to put it out in the universe. I wouldn't really care. What would make that 30 for 30 even crazier is if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were returning all of their offensive starters and got way better on defense, made a run. I'm just saying it would make it even crazier. That might be the end. That might be the end of the 30 for 30.
I've been on the record years ago. You can win a Super Bowl in this league with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that we may actually see it. Like, if it's going to happen, it will happen within the next, 3 years? I give it 3 years. If we don't see it within the next 3, I don't think he gets one. But I do think that, like you said, they're going to make a run, and Baker's going to be the forefront.
That offense is going to look good regardless.
Oh, and he just got $30 million.
Yes. Yeah, he's getting paid in a really good offense, and the Browns have maybe 5 quarterbacks on their they're not going to have 5 on their roster, but maybe 5 quarterbacks that they're looking at. Regardless, the quarterback situation is an absolute mess. We will keep you posted throughout training camp on here. We are going to move on and talk about the bigger elephant in the room right now, Martin Emerson Jr., the injury, as well as what the DB room looks like up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And we do have some unfortunate news to kick this segment off with. Obviously, Martin Emerson went down today at practice, was carted off. It is believed to be, at least as of the latest update, a ruptured Achilles. By the time you're seeing this, whether it's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, he will be getting MRIs done on Wednesday. I mean, I've never heard of a ruptured Achilles being good. Prayers up that it is nothing serious, but the Browns are now without their number 2 corner. They're their number 2 outside guy in Martin Emerson, and the DB room has to take a hard look in the mirror. That's the reality of it, and in 2023 when Emerson went down, it was a tougher spot for the younger guys to step up. This is 2 years later. There's other things that are going on right now in the DB room, but how are you feeling about the depth on this roster outside of the starting 2 guys now, outside of Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, the depth?
I think I'm relying on our defensive line. I think that's where my head is at with all of this. They're going to have to play a huge role in just getting to the quarterback and making their jobs a little bit easier. I mean, you still got Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, who I love both. Ward's going to lock down the one side of the field. And I can't stress enough how excited I am to see Newsome get an opportunity to be back in his natural position. That's where he wants to be. And it's not like he's being thrusted into their week 13 and have to readjust and all that. He's going to get a full go at this thing. But I kind of want to talk about one thing before we go over this injury stuff. Have we seen so many soft tissue injuries or ankle, Achilles? It's like, I'm trying to think back to when I was a kid, and I just don't feel like we've seen it this much. Does it have something to do with, in the words of Joe Flacco, how soft these practices are now? We were out there, and we're like, practice is over? It's been an hour. Like, they're not hitting. They're only practicing for an hour. The 2-a-days and 3-a-day things are non-existent. The amount of reps that they're getting out on the field to get those soft tissue injuries at the beginning of the year aren't happening because they aren't practicing so much. You even correlate that to the basketball side of things. They're probably not practicing as hard as they once were. Like, does the way that they've practiced and how they handle it now a key factor to these injuries? Because I feel like we're seeing it so much more now.
I don't know, to be fully honest with you. I'd be lying to you if I sat here and tried to give you some number. I don't know. But I do think there's some truth behind practicing how you play. And if that is the consistent theme, I guess, like what we saw today, and granted, yesterday was the first full padded practice. They were out there for like an hour 40-ish or so, and it looked like a grueling practice with a lot of team reps. So, maybe they dial it back a little bit. Interestingly enough, Sean McVay in LA, and I've had a couple people tell me about this, and I've heard what his philosophy is. I don't know if it's still the same, but what he would do is every third day would lighten it up. He wouldn't have certain players doing certain things, certain drills wouldn't be done a certain way, because on the third day is statistically when those injuries occur the most. Now,
well, today would make day 2, right?
Today would be day 2. So I don't know if that has to do with anything. Obviously, we'll be there tomorrow. We'll see what it looks like, if there's anything different. And, honestly,
because Grant really didn't have a lot of reps, and then Njoku didn't have no reps, so maybe today was their light day.
And Myles Garrett didn't yesterday. Like, there's certain things, certain players that you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, right.
I understand why you don't have reps. You got to let the other guys step up too, especially, positions in need like safety. But part of me also wonders if today was cut short because of the injury. I do think that's a reality.
I didn't even think of that. That's actually a really good point, just to be cautious. But you don't want to live in your fears, right? You don't want to live in that world where it's like, ooh, this happened. Let's just take a break and take it.
Yeah.
Like you want to conquer through that type of stuff. At least I feel like in the sport of football, you know, like I don't know. I may sound cliche. I may sound like a loser or whatever you want to call it, but like, I'm an old school guy. I miss the old school style of football. And I'm not saying go out there and try to take people's heads off or fun, like, you know what I mean? But like, I just miss that gritty toughness that we used to watch. It just seems like it's a lot more touch. I hit you too hard today. Sorry.
The NFL as a whole definitely.
No,
it is.
This isn't just Brown strictly. This is as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. But we wait to hear more injury news on Martin Emerson. As always, fingers crossed it is nothing serious, but it does not look good. Before we move on to the next segment, though, I want to ask, if you had to highlight somebody or a group of people that need to have the biggest impact in stepping up, because I think we can all agree everybody's got to step up to make up for a loss of a star corner, who is it? Who are you looking at, whether it's a group, an individual, to step up the most to ease the job of everybody else in the secondary?
Well, I've just told you, the defensive line, definitely. If I'm going to single out one player in the secondary room, it has to be Cam Mitchell. I think Cam Mitchell has been in the system enough to understand what he has to do, and I also think that it's his opportunity now. Like, you know, like Luke Floria got an opportunity to make a name for himself. Like, Cam Mitchell has a prime opportunity right now to show that he can get himself a big contract. Because Cam Mitchell's not going to be one of those guys that you look over and say, oh, let's give him 16. Like, we're not going to be arguing that type of money for Cam Mitchell. But if he comes out and has a great season and has an impact, he'll get a payday. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that is going to have to save the secondary, our defensive line. And we saw it again today. They look dominant.
Yeah, they do. And I honestly think, obviously, Cam Mitchell, I agree with you. I think it's the run defense, to be honest with you. Life gets a lot easier when the other offenses behind it change.
Yep.
Like, if you can force people into 3rd and 8s, it's a lot easier to cover, to say, hey, Denzel Ward, go cover your number one, whether it's Greg Newsome getting some extra help, whether it's Cam Mitchell, somebody on the inside getting a bracket. Like, it's so much easier to do that on 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7 than it is on 3rd and 3 and 2. So,
and if they're rushing the way that they're looking, 3rd and 8 might not even happen. It may be 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15.
Yeah.
Like, every single play, it's like, this is a sack, this is a sack, this is just a throw that they're getting through. Like, it was that bad today.
It was that good on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to move on to the next segment, talk about the offensive side of the ball, because I am worried about the depth of the offensive line. We'll talk about that up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And this is the segment where we have to have a hard conversation again about the offensive line. So I was watching all practice today and yesterday with the depth, and I'm like, this is not going to cut it. I think every single unit, 1s, 2s, 3s, defense beat the offense. Every single time. Like yesterday, Tyrone Shainka busted DeJuan Jones' ass in a one-on-one. Myles Garrett was giving DeJuan Jones help. And you know what? Like,
and he was
anybody who's going to sit here and be like, oh, DeJuan Jones that's the best pass rusher in the NFL. Like, what do you get? But regardless, questions on the one side, maybe a little bit. Questions on the 2s and the 3s, the depth, it looks bad. It looks bad. Missed snaps, dropped snaps.
False starts.
False starts. It looks bad. It's a cause for concern, guys. Talked about it all offseason. Two of the bigger moves were, one of the biggest moves that nobody saw coming was bringing Tevin Jenkins in. Obviously, Zach Zinter was a guy who you drafted, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, who was injured, who you really liked, which we all love to pick. At some point, he's going to have to step up. Like, these guys can't struggle this much. In the depth world. I'm terrified if somebody goes down. And Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller are getting up there. Jack Conklin's getting up there. Like, I'm terrified.
I mean, it was a sight to see 9-5 go to work. It's like, there's just some players that, like, they don't even have to try to stand out, and then you're looking. He's on the right side, and, I mean, he is sunning DeJuan Jones, like, visibly frustrated after the series is over. DeJuan Jones' helmet's coming off, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And then the next series, you see Myles Garrett go from the right side to the left side. It's like, oh, well, let's go work on Jack Conklin now. Like, granted, it's Myles Garrett. I get it. I get it. So I'm going to take it with a little bit of salt there just because you are going up against a very, very stacked defensive line. The twos were even making life hell for the quarterback. So that's a good sight to see. I need to see a little bit more because I do think that I don't know if it's as bad as last year just off of the passes that we've seen so far. Now, today, again, was a lot of check down stuff. Everything that they did was check down, hurry up. There were no deep, long plays like we've been seeing on social media. But I don't want to – maybe I'm just living in that don't want to believe it. I want to see DeJuan Jones because, again, he's coming off the injury, obviously. Conklin's finally healthy. There's nothing going on with him. This thing should come together. And again, another offensive line coordinator. So maybe they're working out kinks. Maybe they're trying new protections and trying new things. But, yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern. But then I also do have to think that this defensive line that they're going up against, they're not going to see this type of defensive line week in and week out. This is a special defensive line, I feel like. Because of Myles, obviously.
Pittsburgh's D-line is damn good.
Yeah,
Baltimore's D-line is damn good.
That's our
Detroit's
AFC North.
D-line is damn good. Minnesota's D-line is damn good.
But you know what I'll say to that is we've seen DeJuan Jones handle TJ Watt. You know what I mean?
That is true. Absolutely. Yes.
So it's maybe this is the iron sharpening the iron. So it's like you're not going to see anybody better than Myles Garrett. You know what I mean?
I hope you're right.
So that's how I'm looking at it. Let's wait to see what this thing looks like moving forward. We got to remember there's some new pieces. Anytime you add a new coaching, that's a new voice, that's a new expectation. And I'm hoping that, we see something better because, man, every single play we're like, that's a sack.
The thing is, though, and I want to make this clear, I am confident in the ones. Like, I feel very confident in the 5 starters they're going to roll out, including DeJuan Jones. If somebody goes down, especially at the tackle spot, that is scary.
Yeah.
That is really scary. And honestly, Joe Flacco in 2023 was operating with backup tackles, I believe, on both sides for a little bit.
Didn't he meet a guy in the locker room at the Rams game? Like, that was the first time he talked to him?
Yeah, and DeJuan Jones got hurt in the middle of that season, and obviously Conklin was hurt week 1 that year. So he's operated at a high level without good tackles. But
that's why Joe Flacco's so important, though.
Yeah.
You can roll him out there with that type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do it with the other guys. And Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel
might.
I don't know.
He's used to a bad offensive line, no?
That honestly, that is a good point. The thing is, I don't know. 2023 with Shedeur was not great. 2024 was better, but I don't know. The offensive line, the depth to me is an issue. Somebody has to step up, but we are going to finish with our wide receiver talk a little bit. We got a couple guys we need to talk about up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Say. We are going to wrap up here with potentially the hottest topic of conversation outside of the quarterback debate all offseason, the wide receiver room. There's been some guys that have stepped up. There's been some guys that have left a little to be desired that we thought would be, more consistently involved in the offense. So I want to ask you to start, Zay. Who's one receiver this training camp, not just today, that you've been impressed with?
Easy answer. There's 2 really, but I think you'll probably pick the other one. Deontay Johnson has been. We sat here at this exact spot. Was it 2 weeks ago? And we talked about wanting to make a good impression on your teammates and showing up to OTAs and all that stuff. How it wasn't a good look. I think that is probably put in the past now. Seeing how he's come out and made plays. I don't think there's ever been a question of the talent of Deontay Johnson. And I think as long as he can keep his head right and he can stay in a good place, he should catch a lot of passes this year. Like, is there a world where we see 2,000-yard receivers? Like, we remember when Odell and Jarvis were here, right? And we were like, these are 2 guys that are going to get 1,000 yards receiving. Yeah. Jerry Jeudy, we could probably pencil him in for 1,000.
Yes.
Is Deontay Johnson going to be a guy that we can rely on? Because I'm looking at Deontay Johnson not as a guy that's going to catch 3-4 yard passes. Deontay Johnson's going to catch the ball, and it's going to be 15 yards per game. At least that's what I feel like. And if you catch enough of those passes, you're going to be barking up 1,000 yards pretty soon. I think this is all in between here with him. It's not a talent thing. It's not an effort thing. It's are you right up here?
Yep.
Because you're going to get Deontay Johnson production on the field. And obviously the drops and all the stuff that he's had in his past.
Yeah.
But he has really impressed me with just all of the highlights that I've seen. And then again today, sticking out, making great catches. So give me 16.
He's looked good. He's made a couple nice little juggling catches. It's been really cool to see. I think also just what we've been talking about on social media a bunch. Number 84, Gage Larvadain, is a guy who stepped up, really has established a rapport with Shedeur Sanders specifically, but has just stepped up in general. Honestly, the guy who's impressed me the most, and we've seen it, but I'm more impressed with the volume, is Cedric Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked a bunch about Cedric Tillman, how he's this physically imposing guy, which is true. He can be dominant. It's all true. We all know this. But I want to make this very clear from what I've seen. Joe Flacco is throwing to Cedric Tillman more than he's throwing to Jerry Jeudy. That is the reality of it. And, here's the reality. Could be that it's Denzel Ward on Jerry Jeudy on the other side and he's not open. It could be that he trusts Cedric Tillman against a smaller guy like Greg Newsome. There's a lot of variables here. But I just keep thinking back to the receivers that Flacco has had a bunch of success with. Guys like Anquan Bolden, guys like Jacoby Jones, guys like Alec Pierce last year. There were multiple plays where he was just lobbing the ball up to Michael Pittman Jr.
Didn't he play with Todd Heap?
That tight end, but yes. What I'm trying to say is bigger bodied guys. He trusts them enough to just put the ball in a spot where they can go get it. Now, he's obviously had success with other guys like Torrey Holt and Steve Smith Sr., who are a little bit shorter, a little quicker, but he's very, very clearly looking Cedric Tillman's way. He knows what he has. And Joe Flacco, we've seen it. He doesn't care. He just likes to throw the ball up.
You think that's the old school mentality of
Yes.
Joe Flacco? Like, I'm going to throw you open, and you're a guy that I can see all the time. I think back to that 2023 year, and I believe it was the Jacksonville Jaguar game. And it was the first series of the game. If it wasn't the first series, it was somewhere along there where Joe Flacco comes in and throws. We might have just came off of a full start, and he throws an absolute laser across the middle. It was just like a little post route or something.
Slant, yep.
And Cedric Tillman just engulfs the ball, and it's just like,
and he wears the hit.
Every single time, that's something that Browns, I can't think of a time that we've had that. And I think Joe Flacco is the only quarterback that I've seen do that. Now, I can think back on maybe a couple passes where Baker Mayfield did. Obviously, the first pass of the game, the first pass I think we ever saw Baker Mayfield throw was one of his best throws of his career. The one where he hits Jarvis Landry and Jarvis Landry catches the ball between the defender.
Yeah.
Like, that was throwing Jarvis Landry open.
Giving your guy a chance. And I hate to just keep harping back on the past and the other quarterbacks, but Jameis Winston did it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there were some, I believe actually Jackson Dart said a quote that they've been using that Jameis has tried to instill, which I don't know how much I love that Jameis is trying to instill it, but be aggressive, not reckless. Like, there were some throws where he was reckless last year, but like never really saw Deshaun giving his guys a chance one-on-one.
No.
I mean, DTR, PJ Walker, like, you know what you're going to get with those guys. Like, Flacco very clearly did. Amari Cooper, David Njoku, like all these guys, he was giving them chances. When Cedric Tillman gets his chance, there's very few DBs that can physically match up with him across the league. So
he looks huge.
He's huge. He did have, it wasn't a drop because he came down with the ball, I guess, but a bobble that let him out of balance today. But again, open. Flacco's looking at him. He's getting him the ball more than Jeudy, more than Jerry Jeudy. I want to make sure everybody knows that. But we are going to close with a receiver that you need to see step up a little bit more. Somebody who you may not have been as impressed with as you walked into training camp expecting.
I don't know if I need to see more because we literally just talking about him, but I just think the expectation, like, I need Cedric Tillman to be that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, I really do. Like, as much as I'm sitting here talking about Deontay Johnson and I think he could have a really big season, obviously we're talking pipe dreams with the 2,000 yards. I get it. Don't crucify me. But when you think about what Cedric Tillman could be, like, Cedric Tillman, we talked about it last week, and these guys looking for who's going to be moving forward with us, who can be a guy that could be a permanent cornerstone and be with us for the next few years. Like, Cedric Tillman has every bit of that, the height, the physicality.
100%.
I think the thing that I love most with Cedric Tillman is his physicality. I've never seen a Cleveland Browns receiver block the way that Cedric Tillman can block. He's laid people out, and that's AFC North ready. So I want to see him step into and grab. Don't just earn it like by being like go take it. Demand that wide receiver 2 position is yours because you have every attribute to be it.
Yeah. I'm struggling with this because I was originally going to say Jamari Thrash.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't seen him get a ton of reps with the ones.
What is that about?
I don't know. He's running as much with the twos as he is with the ones, which is interesting. Odd for us who expected Jamari Thrash to come in. But I'm actually going to go off of yours and say Deontay Johnson. Because he's been playing so well, doors are going to be open. At least you think doors are going to be open.
The trust is building too.
Trust is building, especially with Dylan Gabriel, which is interesting. That has very clearly been his guy, but we saw a little bit today. Flacco's getting him the ball. And, Joe Flacco, for better or for worse, will put the ball into harm's way a little bit more to those bigger guys, but he's always had a safety valve too. Josh Downs was as productive as he had ever been with Joe Flacco last year. Obviously, guys like Steve Smith. He loves the guys between the hashes. And I think, honestly, in a perfect world, it's Jerry Jeudy still, but if you can have a safety valve, we've talked about Luke Floria potentially being
I think
that.
he's the steal.
I hope so. The thing is, it's going to be tough for some receivers to make the roster, especially today, seeing the first kick return unit come out and it's DeAndre Carter back there. He's making the roster.
Does Luke Floria make a roster on a different team if they cut him? I think
honestly, I don't know, because the Browns to me are one of the thinnest receiver teams in the league.
It has everything written on it where it's like, oh, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
I can work with this. Kent State, ties.
Philly,
it just, I don't want to let Luke Floria go, because we were joking about it.
I agree. Yeah.
Today at practice. It's like, have we had a white receiver that is as good as he is? He is as reliable. When you're watching him, it's just not like, it's not like we're forcing the love on him. When you watch him move, when you watch him do these routes, we talk about guys that look different. And I'm looking at him, I'm just like, he's crisp. He's on time. His hands are a surefire. He's not catching the ball with his body. It's all hands.
Yep.
I'm impressed with Luke Floria, and it's so funny how we had him sitting here, and now he's all over social media.
It's awesome. Yeah, and I agree. I think Luke Floria should make the roster if they're taking more than 5 receivers, and I'd be shocked if they didn't. What's also interesting to note, in the same vein as DeAndre Carter being out there with the first kick return team, Luke Floria was taking, I don't know if he was taking kick return reps. He was taking punt return reps. Saw that yesterday.
Interesting.
He is a returner, or a potential returner candidate. And if you're getting that with the safety valve in the offensive world, it's hard to say no. And if he doesn't make the active roster, to me, is a prime candidate for practice squad, because he is so versatile. But that is where we're at, about a week and a half through NFL Cleveland Browns training camp and NFL training camp. Obviously, we'll keep you posted with the Martin Emerson stuff. We don't really know how serious it is. We have an expectation, but we wait for official confirmation. Anything you want to finish on before we finalize here?
If you guys see us at training camp tomorrow, say what's up. And wear your coolest gear. It is, when I can't explain how hot it is. I mean, you can walk outside and feel it, but it's different when you're sitting there and the sun is beaming on you. But again, training camp, it's just training camp. I know how we can get overly excited. Let's just be in the moment. Enjoy it. Football's around the corner.
Football is around the corner, and we will see you guys next week on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Thank you for watching.